in a way, I would offer that that is ego in one flavor.
Right.
And that's the one we talk about the most.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really associate somebody being withdrawn or being self-conscious or self-loathing. We don't necessarily relate that to ego. But I've found that when we have an undersense of our ego, when we don't feel like we're enough or that we're worthy enough, then that deflated ego tends to also be equally as out of balance and could be and should be talked about equally as much as somebody who has an overinflated sense of ego. Because what we tend to do then is, if we have an underdeveloped sense of ego, we're attracted to those people who have an over-evaluated sense of ego, because we feed off of each other. We create these codependencies, right? And we see it time and time again in coaching and counseling. There's this codependency that can be so easily created because we're looking for the strength in others that we don't have to create the balance. So there's an outside of self that starts to happen, right? So I know what I don't have, I'm going to seek it outside of myself. Instead of looking within and going, I know what I haven't developed yet. How can I develop this for myself?
Okay.
And so when we talk about ego being used as a tool, to me, that's really what we're talking about. Because if we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for that, then we're creating these codependencies where we stay where we are. We stay with that underdeveloped sense of ego, looking for that overdeveloped sense of ego to balance ourselves out outside of ourselves. But if we look at it as, this is my tool, and I have not yet created a healthy awareness around this tool that I can leverage to know who I am and how I desire to experience myself in this world. So I'm going to go within and create that own knowing of self and balance within myself so that I can be that expression. Or like, hey, I've gone too far the other way, and now I need to prove to everybody else who I am, instead of just being who I am. So how do I pull that back? Then all of our energy and time is spent in proving something or not experiencing something instead of being in that healthy center point, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I really like how you just put that, because it helped me, even just in this conversation, have a better understanding and more empathy for those in the over-ego standpoint. Because the reality is that's a facade where it's really someone who is in the under-ego or the deflated ego who's attempting to prove that they aren't. And so it goes so far the other way. And so, yeah, I've been kind of wondering a little bit about, well, I do get the under-ego part. That's something I've struggled with. I mean, honestly, who hasn't struggled with self-worth or self-love or self-understanding? I mean, in a world that's constantly telling you how to be, what to do, and all those things, no wonder we're struggling in finding our true north, right? So, and it's only natural for humans to want to go so far one way so they can find that balance. We do that in many aspects of our lives.
It's like the pendulum, right? Gotta swing.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I just hadn't really, so I appreciate the way you just brought that forward, because I feel like it really clicked on another level for me, that even the presentation of an over-ego is the reality of someone still in the under-ego. And so the balance isn't necessarily, it's this, it's the balance is in the lack of understanding of self.
Yeah.
And so that's a fascinating, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good.